Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. It's about 30 degrees outside today, and I don't think it's going to get out of the 30s. So I'd say that wintertime is definitely on top of us and here to stay for the East Coast. But with that said, happy Thanksgiving Eve to everyone. Hope everyone's going to get to enjoy it, and however you enjoy it. Me, I'm going to be home doing a little bit of cooking. But enough about that. Let's get into what you guys have come for. Today, we're going to talk about holiday time in the penitentiary, TDCJ style. As you can probably imagine, it's not a good time. It's not festive. There might be some decorations done up, maybe in the warden's area, the admin area, but for the average CO, and I mean the one who's standing the watch working with the inmates, for the ones that are standing duty in the pods, the pickets, the dorms, there's nothing. It's just another day. And I'm going to speak on the side of the COs as well as the side of the inmates, give some good for a change on the channel and some bad. So let's talk about the COs. What the hell is good about working the holidays for them? Well, for those who don't have any family, for the younger guys, gals who haven't yet settled down, or for the older ones that were settled down at some point and decided it wasn't for them and moved on, it's a great time because you actually might get some holiday pay. We typically weren't paid overtime back in 2013 to 15. I understand from the comments on a lot of viewers that I'm hearing from, they're doing mandatory overtime at this point. I guess they're so short-handed that they can't keep enough individuals to man the shifts. And the state only has a finite amount of individuals that they can go through, and then eventually, it's going to be calling in the National Guard time. And I hate to hear that. But for the holiday times, there was actual overtime pay. In lieu of overtime pay, you could deny that and you could accept comp time. You work 12 hours, you get 12 hours worth of comp time. Now, on your standard days, because normal work day is 8 hours, a 4-day shift at 12 hours, that's 48 hours. The extra 8 hours, that went to our comp time. Comp time could be banked for up to 2 years, and you had to take it sometime in between that time. Notify the supervisor ahead of time, let them know, hey, LT, I'm going to take my Tuesday, Wednesday off on such and such. Here's the comp time on my books. You had to do some legwork. You had to have your pay statement printed out. You could take the time off, sit at home, and get paid for it. That was a good thing. The bad thing with that, when you got whole shifts of individuals making comp time, everybody at some point is going to have to use it. That in turn is going to leave the shifts short-handed. That leads to other shifts getting called in, shifts working short-handed. It's a very vicious cycle, as you can probably see from it, when you got everybody making all this comp time, and it has to be used within the 2 years. I had suggested in turnout room one day, and of course this was denied, that could we take this comp time and sell it? In the military, as we accrue leave, there are certain times in your career you can sell back your leave days, make you a little bit of cash on it. I suggested that. And the supervisors basically looked at me like I had taken a shit there in the middle of the room and started smearing it on the walls. Their expressions couldn't have been any more different than that right there. So, my time in HR was definitely short lived. So, when you would work Thanksgiving, Christmas, I think maybe New Year's, they didn't observe days like President's Day, Columbus Day, Halloween, none of those. Just what they considered the more important federal holidays. How they based it, I don't know. Those are the days you could actually make you a little bit of money. So for the ones that didn't have the family to stand with, good thing, make a little extra cash. Where it was bad, those that had family, I'm sorry, getting ahead, I fell in that category. My wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, but we didn't live together. We were still in the dating phase, friend phase as she called it. I was ready to work every single one of them. I would just go over to family's house, and to me, Thanksgiving, it was just eat food day. I mean, I could do it the day after. I could do it the day before. It didn't have to be the day of. I didn't care. So yeah, I'd raise my hand to volunteer to work that time all the time. And that helped the supervisors plan out who could request that comp time and actually get it approved to them. Sorry, taking my house shoes off. It is cold up here, but not that cold. So yeah, I was that guy. I'd volunteer for any of the holidays because I'm not saying they didn't mean anything to me, but because I had missed so many of them in the military, the actual day itself didn't really matter. We'd celebrate Christmas on the 28th if I was on duty. We'd celebrate it on the 23rd. The day wasn't important. Where it was bad were the individuals that did have family, the individuals that did have commitments, that didn't have the comp time, didn't have the personal time, didn't have enough sick time. They would have to stand that watch. And we'll just say they weren't in the greatest of moods. A lot of them were already miserable to begin with, but you want to talk about just being absolute miserable. Hey, Sorrel, what's going on? Fuck you, Carter. All right. See, it's going to be a good day here. Just little things like that. She might have meant it affectionately. It was hard to tell, but most of them, they could come off as just pretty miserable. And I get it. Okay, they had walked those tiers for years. There was nothing to be really cheerful about it. Granted, it's what you make of it, but it's still a freaking prison. So you had to deal with the attitudes of the individuals that were there. And it was just going to be tough to do because they wanted to be just lazy. Do as few security rounds as possible. When it was count time, it was drag your feet time, serve the trays time, just dragging ass, not wanting to be there. It could be an extremely demoralizing time, to say the least. So that's the best I can say for the good and the bad on the CO side. Good side, yeah, you make a little extra pay. Bad side, you're separated away from your family, working with some individuals who could bring their feelings to work with them. And it's just a recipe for disaster. On the inmate side, man, there's so many ways that I could describe it. I'm going to try to keep it brief because I don't want to drag these videos out longer than I already do. So the good side for the inmates, usually they would get a little bit better food. They might even get a little bit of extra food, maybe a little bit better quality. Maybe the service manager put a little extra effort into it. Maybe the guys that were serving out the food with the spoons, they weren't shaking the spoon. That means that there's some excess on it. They shake it, level it out. If they weren't doing that, they get a little extra portion. So maybe there'd be a little bit of that going on. I never worked general population during a holiday. I always worked in seg, and usually there would be a little bit more food on the trays. Sometimes it would actually be not too bad. Some baked chicken, some stuffing, a little bit of cranberry sauce, some greens, some what you would consider out here in the free world some yams. This is more like potatoes cut up, maybe with some syrup and some sugar, whatever kind of concoction they had made up. But, they were trying. And so the guys could look forward to a little bit more food. The bad part about it, typically, because we would be so short-staffed on the holidays, they would only get served 2 actual hot meals that day. They'd get served the breakfast. I only served breakfast one time in SEG. I've talked about it quite a few times. And then with the lunch tray, once we would pass that out, now the lunch tray went out around 11 at the latest. Sometimes it was in there by 10 o'clock. Once it was passed out, they would follow up with another cart that had sacks in it. The sack was their dinner, and that would be usually some slices of turkey meat, or what they considered turkey meat, some turkey bologna, 2 sandwiches, some kind of fruit. In lieu of a fruit, there might be some kind of off-name brand fruit bar, a little snack inside it, maybe like a fruit cup. Nothing to really get excited about. So on the flip side, they had a good tray, and dinner, they basically got a bag of bullshit. And don't think there weren't quite a few times that those bags got thrown right back out the slot. We'd set it on the slot, inmate flick it out. I don't want that bullshit, boss. You fucking take that and eat it. Okay, maybe. Maybe I might take it up in the picket and snack on it. Who knows? You don't want it? Whatever. Other times, the guys that weren't making any commissary, they didn't have any choice. They'd beat, bang, and holler and yell, but they'd still take the bag and they'd munch on it at some point. So that was their meals. Attitudes could definitely vary for the guys. A lot of the inmates that I dealt with in SEG, we called them psych patients. They were all, or psych cases. They were all on some kind of medication. A good majority of them didn't have any family anymore. They had either been in the system so long the family had up and passed away, died, or they had just written them off that long ago. Or the life that they lived outside in the free world, a holiday day to them, was nothing. They didn't wake up and start their day with, it's time to go to work, earn a living, take care of my family, pay my bills. No. A lot of these guys came from violent households, drug use at early ages, abuse. I'm not going to get into it, but let's just say the way that I wake up and view Thanksgiving, they woke up and viewed it differently, if they even woke up that day. So to them, it was just another day. They didn't get sentimental or reminisce about it. The other inmate was the one that did still have family, friends, loved ones. They did know what the holidays were. They did know what Thanksgiving was. They had observed it. And now here they are locked in a penitentiary with me handing them this tray and this bag of bullshit. Sometimes, depending on what mood they were, if they had taken the right amount of meds, they'd take it and just wouldn't say anything. Or, man, the fight would be on. When I say the fight would be on, they're jacking slots, yelling, hollering, just doing anything that they could to try to make my day and the other CO's days that much more difficult. Because in their mind, if they got to be miserable, why the hell should it be any different from me? Dealt with that every single day. Holiday time, it could be even worse. So, there was always bad with the good. What else? So we talked about food, we talked about their attitudes. Like I say, a lot of them, they didn't look at it as a day to be celebrated and to be happy. They didn't have anything to be happy about. They were stuck in freaking cells back in segregation, back in the dungeon. And they sure as shit weren't going to try to make our day any better. Now, you'd have the few occasional one that you might have had a good rapport with. Maybe you'd hooked them up with something at some point, or they just happened to be in a decent mood at the time. They would actually be fairly civil to us. Might even say, hey, happy Thanksgiving, boss. Very rare. I did hear it a few times. Stop, say it to him. Guy in this cell next here, he might start yelling, cussing, beating, banging. Guy over here, he goes silverback gorilla, ready to go. Just to be difficult, just to be turds. So needless to say, yeah, when holiday time was starting to roll up, working in the penitentiary, it usually wasn't a very happy time. Sometimes we would actually dread having to go on shift. Yeah, I volunteered for it. The money was good. Still got that little bit of comp time. We worked shorthanded, but we also knew we only had to pass out one tray that day. A lot of them would refuse to go to the day room. A lot of them would refuse to go to shower, so we didn't have to move them around quite a bit. Others, they purposely wanted to go to the day room and the shower just to make us work. So it just depended. I don't remember what specific cells that I worked in. I say cells, I'm sorry. I don't remember which particular pods, A through F, that I worked in back then. I just know that it could be some really tough times. For the fellow COs that are manning it tomorrow, man, mad shout out to you guys and gals. I saw a video the other day on the TDCJ website there at YouTube. They were talking about an executive order going out about possibly some extra pay for the individuals. From what it looks like the state is absolutely struggling. Every CO that they were filming walking down the tiers, every CO had masks on. The inmates all had masks on. Man, I only wear that fucking thing when I have to, and that's when I'm in the office there at work. When I'm out on the boat, no, we take that shit off. We got to be able to communicate. But in the office, yeah, and I absolute hate wearing that thing. So I can just imagine what it's like, the moods, the attitudes that were already there, and now let's add this thing that once you start to get sweaty on it, feels like you're being waterboarded. Just, just man, shout out to you guys. I hope you guys stay safe. Man, stand that watch. Make as much money as you can on it. Good on you. I don't envy that in the least bit. So, I hope this has been entertaining for the most part. Talked about some of the good things, bad things for COs, good things and bad things for the inmates. I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay warm. If you like this, let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know. We'll continue on from there. Everyone take care. Happy Thanksgiving.